an amazing week, and welcome to the More Momentum webinar podcast, whatever we call it. I am lucky enough, not lucky enough. We miss Don and Gino. We know those guys. By the way, you guys better stay tuned because there's some big things coming down the pipeline that you are not going to want to miss. And that's why Don and Gino, they're not even here today. They said, who do we trust to host our webinar? And I said, well, if you're trusting me, ladies and gentlemen, all gloves are coming off. I can say or do whatever the heck I want. So you better sit down, buckle up, and ready to have some fun, because I'll tell you what, our guest today is one of those people who's been a mentor to me. He has been a mentor to so many. He is a leader throughout the industry. He's the chief truth teller, which is one of my favorite things, because if you know my title, it's the chief enthusiasm officer, but he is the chief truth teller over at Mortgage Marketing Institute. He's the host of the Mortgage Marketing Radio as well. And he's even written a book, believe it or not. He's done something that I have tried so hard to do. And Geoff, my guy, has actually accomplished it. It's called Disrupt or Die. I'm sure we'll be mentioning it a little bit later in the show, but I am truly humbled. I'm honored. I am grateful to be hanging out with my boy, Geoff Zimpfer. What's up, Geoff?
Man, oh man, you hear the applause? It's crazy. Standing room only.
It's like literally one of those, there's like, all you can hear is just the noise. That's great.
Right.
Nuts.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, man, for that awesome intro. I feel equally the same about you. I always get inspired and educated whenever I'm with you. So I think today's conversation is going to be fire. And as you know, you and I both run the same way. We're all about engagement. We're all about, we want to have a conversation, not give a presentation.
Dude, you nailed it. You literally nailed where I wanted to go with this next. Everybody who's on the webinar, the podcast here today, we want yours. And Momentum Builder is all about that. We want your participation. We want your questions. We want you not to just sit back and relax. That's not what you're here to do. We want to create momentum. We want to create activity for you so you can go out and execute on it. And Geoff and I are going to be talking a little bit about that today. And if you saw what our title for this was, it's the number one reason you're failing on social media. And we're going to be diving into that. We really want you to understand it. We want to have a great discussion on it. So if you have questions that are based around social media, maybe why you're struggling with social media or something you need help with, we're going to dive into that. And we're going to share some of our insights, because both Geoff and I have been through the ringer. We understand. I don't know if we can call ourselves masters, but we really do understand what moves the needle for mortgage and real estate professionals when it comes to social media. So yes, we're going to be chatting about some of the number or the top reasons that you possibly could be failing on social media and how you can overcome those. But before I do get into it, I want Geoff just to take a second. If you don't know Geoff, if you've never listened to his podcast, you should absolutely go subscribe to the Mortgage Marketing Radio podcast. You should go subscribe to his channels, because he is always a wealth of knowledge and wisdom. But I want to take just a sec, Geoff, and maybe get a little background from you and how you got started in our industry.
Sure. 2003.
See, I told you. Applause goes out.
Wow. All right.
You wanted applause. There you go.
Good job, Sonia.
I don't know if that was a prison riot or that was some kind of applause, but that's how I get started, was after prison. No, just kidding. So 2003, I entered the mortgage industry after some time traveling around the country working for Tony Robbins, and I needed to settle down. And so that's an interesting background story, which we can possibly get into. But fast forward, is I entered in 2003. I started with zero experience, zero knowledge, lots of uncertainty and fear. And I was given a box of business cards by my manager that said, go get yourself some realtors. And then, the journey's been it ever since. And so, it's one of those industries you get in. I fell in love with it. I can't get out of it. I think it's a really challenging, fun industry. There's some incredible people, you and many others that we all equally know. And so for me, it's it's a lab. It's a sandbox. It's this wonderful laboratory where now, because I've, after originating for over a decade and doing well and being in the top 5% and all that fun stuff, I transitioned into sales and leadership and training at different companies. And, now I get to, kind of do this and lead with education through my podcast and different coaching and platforms and things like that. So does that help for a little fast forward story?
That was absolutely perfect. I always like the backstory, because sometimes, and I love that you highlighted, you come from a mortgage background. You and I both come from a mortgage background. We come from originating. We were in the trenches. We were literally making it happen So sometimes I think that makes it more relatable to all our real estate professionals or other professionals on the call. I don't want you to think, oh, these guys are mortgage guys, we don't need to listen in. But for all of our mortgage friends and everybody listening, giving that background and that understanding is huge. Plus, like you said, you have background with Tony Robbins, and now being in the leadership role that you are, it's continuing to help you grow and become absolutely one of the most influential people in all mortgage. You mentioned we know some great people, but you are one of those people that continues to inspire me every time I see you. I'm just grateful for our friendship and grateful for that all you continue to share. And right along those lines, let's kind of dive into our conversation today, which is the number one reason people are failing on social media. And I'm going to be flat out honest. I don't know if there's one specific reason or not, Geoff. I think there are
Right.
multiple. And what's really cool and interesting, and I know you feel the same way, is everybody's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Everybody could have their own unique way of what their number one reason for failing is. But in all your leadership and all the mentoring that you've done, all the coaching that you continue to do day in and day out, what are some of the top reasons that you are seeing that industry professionals, whatever industry you are in, they are failing on social media?
Yeah, thank you for that. And I do want to preface this by saying I do not consider myself a social media expert. I consider myself who's learning all the time. And what I spend a lot of my time doing is immersing myself in the communities and groups and conversations of other people who are way ahead of me when it comes to social media. And then what I do is I try and apply what can I learn from that to apply to my own business, and then some of the people that I work with. So just wanted to set that first and foremost, is we're all learning together. So in preparing for this call today and answer this question, I wrote down two answers to this. I think the first one I'll give you, and like you said, Josh, I'm glad you pointed it out, is there's no one answer for everybody. I think we can see some patterns and some kind of, global, if you will, evidence as to why people perhaps don't achieve, including myself, at the level that I would like to achieve and I'm striving to. But for me, it comes back to the first one is consistency,
Mm.
just consistency. As the quote I know very well, and the Jim Rohn quote, which is a few simple disciplines repeated every single day. I mean,
Yep.
let's just face it, succeeding on social media is a discipline. Like
Mm.
learning how to create content with this, which you do so well, is a discipline. And to be disciplined or to get good or to build momentum at something, momentum, see the tie-in?
Booyah.
Uh, we need to do something consistently if we're going to get better. And so I would say that's my first answer.
Okay, so let's dive into that a little bit more. Let's unpack that, because consistency is one of those. I was on a webinar or on a podcast yesterday talking about this in particular, talking about consistency and what that looks like. And I'm really glad that you bring that up, because again, this is almost to each their own. Consistency could
Mm-hmm.
be something that I think is a huge mistake, being that we're talking about mistakes, is that so many people, and you and I are both huge Gary Vaynerchuk fans. It's somebody who's been, kind of an inspiration for both of us. Interestingly enough, not as much as of late with
Yeah.
some of the things that he's doing, but I know he was a big influence for both of us. But they hear
Yep.
some of these influencers and some of these leaders saying, you need to be posting 10 times a day on social
Mm-hmm.
media. And I'm like, that's almost impossible. I can say, coming from, we do social media full time, and I have a team that does social media. We tried to post 10 times a day for a month. It is almost impossible. Like, it's very, very
Yeah.
difficult. So when you say consistency, what do you feel is a good benchmark, or what is a good place when it comes to consistency?
That is a great question. And I do agree with you about the Gary Vee comment there. I think that's very challenging for most people. And it's really unfortunate when he consistently repeats that message over and over again, because it feels like you can't live up to that. And then I think some people don't even try, to post 5 times a day or whatever, right? So I think it's kind of disempowering. And on a side note, so how I fly, Josh, is when we talk, there's no agenda. I got like 2 notes written down. So I'll give you the real answer. Well, part one of my answer is, so I recently paid for a high-level consulting with the organization, the group behind the book Hook Point, Brendan Kane.
Yes.
That was a 5-figure check that I wrote to get consulting on content. So to my point earlier, I invest. I invest to learn, get in the rooms, the right people, the coaching, etc. And actually, we talked about Gary Vee specifically. And one of the things that they commented about Gary is that it's different now. It's not the same as when Gary came up and it was less noisy and less crowded. And as you know, it's very challenging for somebody to do that volume without a team. And besides that, we have a business to run, right? So what I mean by consistency is like really the best you can do. There's that, right? What does that mean for each individual? It might mean once a week. And if you're only doing it once a week, does that mean you're failing? No. I think it's if you're doing once a week, every week, or continual weeks and months in a row, that's where you're going to build momentum. If you're doing 5 times in 1 week and then not doing it the next week and then doing once the next week and then skipping the next week, well, that's the missing link about consistency. So I'd rather see 1 post per week of quality than 12 of mediocre.
Ooh, I love it. Like, and the sporadicness of it all. It's like posting
Yeah.
it, and there's no rhyme or reason for you. You're just kind of throwing something against the wall to see what sticks. Dude, that is absolutely brilliant. And I hope we can talk more about this consulting. Like, it sounds like you were able to learn a lot from this. Again, you invested in yourself, in your business. And that's what everybody, the community that's here, that's what everybody does. You're investing in the momentum builder community. You are here, you're investing your time. Sometimes it takes investing money in that to be successful. And Geoff, I 100% agree with you. I think consistency is in the eye of the holder. If you can only commit to once a week, hey, that's a great place to start. And I will even say this,
Right.
you're ahead of 90% of legitimately 90% of mortgage professionals. It's only the top 10% that are utilizing social media in any type of efficient way. So if you're doing once a week, twice a week, you're doing great. Now, that doesn't mean you can't ramp it up. Like, you can get to maybe a 3 or 4, maybe even 5 times a week, but starting out, quality content, like you said, is one of those things that is really, really important. Now, I want to break up this quality real quick too, because this is another key factor. This is another mistake that I see people making. It can be an excuse for some people. Like, oh, I don't think, well, Geoff, that's not quite the quality. I saw Geoff make a post and it was amazing. He had this and that. So some people think quality is the way it actually looks, when quality could actually mean the value of the conversation that you're sharing. So when it comes to quality, because I love this remark that you share, what is quality?
I love it, love it, love it. What is quality? Quality, how do you measure? I guess your question is, how do you know when it's quality, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Because there's our opinion and then there's the people. And what really matters more, obviously, is the people that you're trying to reach. And so that's where I start to go a little bit narrow. So we start wide with this concept of consistency, and then we get a little bit more narrow, knowing like, okay, so how do you know when you have quality content? And I think that's becomes obvious with these social media platforms is you can measure probably the most important metrics, if you will, or relevant metrics around how do you know if something's good that you posted? Well, you get comments, you get shares, probably depending on the Instagram or the channel we're talking about, which is a matter of fact, I want people right now in the chat, what is your primary social media platform that you're on? Because it does vary a little bit. So I'm going to type this right here, right now. What is your primary social platform? Give them a second to answer because we want to have a conversation today. So the first thing that you can do, and we can unpack this as we go a little bit deeper, but on my screen right here, Josh, I recently, we put together a class that I have loan officers teach that's all about Instagram analytics, right? It's called Mastering Instagram Insights. And so this is an area I think I for one, I didn't look under the hood for a long time. Like, I'm just driving the car. It's like running by itself. I don't know where the hell, I don't need to know where to change the oil. You know what I mean? It's just like, it just runs, man. Until I get that red light that says, hey, something's wrong with the engine, I'm just going to keep driving it, right? And so the red light with your engine is you're not getting any engagement. You're not getting any shares. You're not getting DMs. That's the red light that something's wrong with the way you're driving the car. And so to come full circle about to answer your question about how do you know you have quality content is when you're getting those indicators of like, shares, comments, DMs. Does that help?
That's absolutely brilliant. I think that's one of those indicators that we should all be, especially as we're continuing to grow. That's something that we can go back and look at is, hey, am I getting conversations from this? Am I getting Am I seeing that engagement? That is absolutely one of those things that I think is a great resource or a great indicator of how well you're doing on social media. And look at this. So we got people dropping in. So we had Irma, Instagram, Nick, Facebook, Stephanie, Instagram, Facebook, Odette, Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, Joseph, Instagram, Facebook, Nick. Quality content, always be gauged by the engagement you receive. Yeah, I think that is one of those things you can really tell. Now, I want to hit on that too, because a lot of people always say, well, Josh, it seems like I'm not getting a lot of engagement. And this goes back to, this is like a double-sided or two-part question to what you've added. When you're first starting out, ladies and gentlemen, everybody on here, Geoff, you and I both experienced this, and even still to this day, is every single post you make is not going to go through the roof. You're not going to get 100 likes. You're not going to get 100 comments. That's just the game that we play, but it goes back into that consistency and quality. If you're doing it correctly over time, you should start to see those numbers trend up. You will start to see more engagement. You will start to see, but when you start right out of the gate, it's okay if you're just getting 1 or 2 likes, right, Geoff? Like, you got to start somewhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, where are you, right? See, the mistake we make is we're often following or looking, Gary Vee earlier example, we're looking at somebody who's way the hell above us, right? In their fourth quarter and double overtime or whatever, right? Or they're in their third Super Bowl. And we're like, we're just in Little League out here, right? We're just hitting the ball off the tee still. And we're like, The Gap in the Game, right? Which you guys know that book, fantastic book. We're too busy looking at where we want to go versus how far we've come, which again comes back to consistency, right? You can't get there until you're consistent and keep doing it and doing the reps and all that kind of stuff. So to again, I think go deeper on your question about how do you know quality. And this is where too, it's like we've got macro concepts, quality. What does your audience want to? What does your audience engage with? Now you can learn by others. That's one of the things I learned through my high-end consultation that I just paid for. Is if you look at some of the larger creators out there on social media, there's a lot of creative borrowing going on, right?
That's putting it nicely. Creative borrowing. A lot of people know, if you follow the podcast, I call it "Steal Like an Artist" by Austin Kleon. One of my favorite things.
Right.
There's a lot of that going on for sure.
Yeah. And why? Well, because success leaves clues. And so it's okay to take a winning strategy, a winning piece of content, and repurpose it for yourself in your own style, with your own take on it, or things like that. And we did this little thing. Take Mr. Beast, for example, on YouTube, right? There was an example they showed of a Mr. Beast thumbnail. I don't know if everybody remembers. I actually saw this video because my kids are into Mr. Beast. But it was a thumbnail of a train going into a ditch, and the tracks were going right into the ditch. And it was just like, and then his face is on the thumbnail, right? And so it's a very attention-grabbing thumbnail. Well, it's interesting. That same thumbnail by a completely different creator was used 3 years prior to Mr. Beast doing that. The only difference is Mr. Beast put his face on that same exact image, a train going into a hole.
Wow.
And so what's the point? The point is that thumbnail got clicks. And so Mr. Beast isn't stupid. He's like, this thing got a lot of clicks. I'm going to do my own version of this. I'm going to put my face on it instead. And the content of the video was somewhat different, but quite similar as well. So what's my point? My point is you can learn a lot by watching and observing other people who are getting good engagement, which we can probably go deeper on this in a few minutes about going into your analytics and things like that.
Yeah, I totally want to dive. Dude, my kids are a Mr. Beast fans, and I have the same exact clip. I know exactly what you're talking about because we've had a few other people, groups that analyze Mr. Beast videos and how he does it. And again, success always leaves clues. Always. You look at the most successful people in the world, you learn from them, you watch what they're doing. And again, you've been one of those people to so many in the industry. You watch what these successful people are doing and you start to replicate in your own way. I always tell people, there's no reason to plagiarize what somebody has done. But if I see something that really makes me think or gets me excited, I'm like, hey, that like Geoff did that incredibly well. I'm going to go and put that in my own words. I'm going to go in and do something similar to this. And again, just put my own little spin on it. Especially if I see that you had success with it. So I'm excited to dive in. That you mentioned kind of some of these analytics. So let's dive into the side of that. What are some of the things that you've learned when it comes to how the analytics can play out and how they can benefit us?
Yeah. Before I answer that, I want to take a moment and get more engagement from the people that are here, such as Ed and you know, I'm not trying to steal your thunder, but you and I know each other well enough where you're cool on this.
Oh yeah.
So Edgar, Irma, John, Joseph, Josh, Michael, Nick, like, what is your biggest challenge with social media? Type it in the chat right now. Ryan, Stephanie, what's up, T Newton? Good to see you, man. Travis Newton's a dude who him and James are crushing it on Instagram, and they could probably give their own little class on how to get engagement. Travis, let's go. What's your biggest challenge? All right, here we go. Irma, consistency. So this is how I do these Zooms, man. I'm calling you by name.
Dude, I love it.
Edgar, getting people to message. See, this is interesting. This will give us talking points. All right, so Edgar says DM. I'm going to write a few of these down, and we're going to unpack these. Edgar DM. Somebody already said consistency. Triggering conversations. Do you want to trigger people, Joseph? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no kidding, right? Coming up with creative content. Ooh, Odette, I like that. Coming up with creative content. It's kind of along the lines we're talking about. Getting through all the noise. Okay. Sonia, I like that. Sharing personal content. Ooh, I like that, Josh. That's something I talked about on my podcast yesterday. Consistency, trigger people.
Editing, posting.
Ooh, editing,
There's
posting.
A little company called Shred Media that can help you with editing and posting, by the way.
Ryan, reach out. Ryan, reach out to me, bro. I got you on the shred it side of things, bro.
Converting. All right, let me pause for a second.
Yeah.
And we're going to take a couple of these, but I want to take Travis. What does that mean, converting? What does converting mean? And I'll give you a second to response, and why I'm going to riff on this for a second is because, Josh, I know you've seen this as well, is like some people say these big global things like, you know, scaling, converting. I'm like, what does that even mean? You know what I mean? That's why, Travis, I need to identify that and narrow this down. We can unmute people if we want them to talk. That's up to you guys if you want to do that. I'm cool with that. But here goes Travis. Getting from post engagement to hands-on engagement. Again, with the hands-on. What do you want to do? You want to get your hands on people?
I like it.
No, I'm just teasing a little bit, but I assume you want to have a conversation, Travis. Is that what we're saying? Right?
Yeah.
You want to lead people to a conversation.
Oh, here he is. He's not unmuted yet.
Okay.
Travis, are you in a place where you can unmute yourself?
I gave him the option to.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll see if he and if not, Travis, we totally understand and respect it. Like we totally get it. You may be in a place where you can't, but yeah, let's kind of right now trying not to wreck. Yeah, bro, don't wreck. Yeah, you do you. You do you. Don't.
No. Keep your hands on the wheel. All right. So and that's why I wanted to get, you know, it's sometimes hard to answer the question without the context, right? So let's just assume he's talking about in the DMs driving to a conversation. Well, yeah, contextually based on what? Are we talking about a potential buyer who needs to get a pre-approval or something, or has got questions about financing or buying real estate? You know, and I think it's going to be like, well, what's going to drive them to the DM in the first place? So, and you know, that's part of more information I need on the answer.
Oh, Travis,
I got it. I figured it out.
Sweet.
Okay.
I've got my son with me. We figured it out.
Perfect.
So, you know, for me, Travis Newton brought up a great point. You can gauge the quality of your post by your engagement, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we can engage all day long, but if we can't convert that engagement into something of value other than just a feel-good engagement, why are we doing what we're doing? So I guess for me, how do you take the likes? How do you take the comments? How do you take the thumbs up, the hearts, whatever? And, you know, truly strategically, and what's the right word I'm looking for? And honestly, compassionately, with that individual, without being, hey, I'm just to sell you something.
All right. So you cut out a little bit, but Travis, are you up in Oregon?
I am, yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at are you on Instagram? Is that your primary, or is it Facebook? What is it?
I kind of do both.
Nice.
Well, where are you looking to get the conversion or engagement from? Instagram or Facebook? I know both, but
probably more so lately in Instagram, yeah.
Okay. The reason why I'm
more
asking
so Instagram, guys.
Can I share my screen and show his page, Josh? Is that okay?
Sonia, can we give? You should have.
I'm good. I just want to. Yeah, just want to make sure I'm not violating any rules. So Travis, if you can see it, I don't know or not, but this looks like to be his page. Here's Travis and Lake Oswego. Here's your bio, husband, father. So are you in the mortgage business, Travis?
Yes.
How do I know that? By looking at your profile. I don't.
I mean, that's a great question. You can ask my coach that I completely revamped my page around that said I want to take that off there.
Ah, now we're okay.
And you can, in fact, I'll even blast out Geoff Fitzer. Geoff is awesome.
Told you to take being a mortgage professional off your bio?
I made a bunch of changes to that.
Yeah, well, look at if that's what you were told, to not say that you're in the mortgage business on your bio, I personally don't agree with that. But let me show you an example of why. Let me go to my friend Katie Grimes.
Great example here.
There it is right here, Katie and KC. Now, just imagine for a second, Geoff, I'm going to come back to your profile. Let's imagine for a second, and so if I assume what you want is engagement around you to transact around mortgages. Yes?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Absolutely.
Well, so what the consumer behavior is, first of all, do you have any content that's even relevant around? And by the way, just so you know, this is total love, bro, right? So this is just, going to prescribe what I can for you in the time that we have. And you may have some mortgage content in here. It looks like you perhaps do, but it certainly isn't like top of mind and very prevalent. Like, I don't know who you are and what you do, other than you look like an awesome father and all that kind of jazz, and of a Great Dane and Gonzaga, all that stuff. That's cool. That's all awesome. Nothing bad with that. But if our goal is to build a personal brand, to become known, right, as a mortgage professional and put out that great content that's going to drive engagement, well, some of it's got to be around real estate and mortgage. Because otherwise, why would I choose to have a conversation with you around mortgages if I don't even know that's what you do?
Yeah, that's a great point. And there is some weaved into it, but it's not as smack you in the forehead as maybe it needs to be.
Now, let me show you, and Katie's top of mind because I interviewed her a few weeks ago. She's out of Kansas City. And so if you go to her bio, because this is the first place, right? Link in bio. I mean, people are going to go to your bio and they're going to see, who is this person that just posted the cool dog video? Or they're like, oh, and then they come to their bio. It's like, oh, Katie Grimes, #1 female LO in Kansas, top 100 women. I save home buyers time and money. Oh, and then she's got the personality stuff, Lake Bum, 90s rap expert. So you've been really good with the personal stuff, but on the business side, I don't know how to engage with you around business because I have no idea what you do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. So, I'm not trying to throw Scott under the bus or anything. I think he's got a lot of great content to offer there, but I think, look, we're in business, right? I'm not looking for 1,000 friends. I'm here to transact the business. And do I want to have engagement in relationships? Do I want to be seen as approachable and friendly and engaging, entertaining, informative? Yeah, but I also have to have a means by which I can engage with you. So the last point I'll make is, if I go to Katie's Linktree, right in her bio here, which, one of these Linktree links, well, now I can link all to her professional stuff as well. So that's called a crash course bio audit on, if you're looking to use Instagram or social to have lines in the water to get business, to get fish on your business line, well, we need to put the right bait on there, and it can't be exclusively just your cool, fun content, because anyway, I'll stop there.
No, I think this is really good. So, and again, Travis, as you probably know, Geoff Fitzer's a very good friend of mine as well. I was on his podcast recently, so I understand what knowing his coaching and this is really fun. Why working with so many coaches in the position that I'm in is kind of cool, because you get to hear so many different aspects and so many different thoughts and people who have seen success with them. So Travis, and I want to make sure we reiterate so much love. And you have Geoff, who's one of the top coaches in the country, looking at it from the other Geoff's standpoint as well. I think you have to find that balance. And to Zimpfer's point here, you do need something. And I always tell people, I'm all about the personal. I love personal content, but you have to let people know what you do. There has to be a time where they're like, oh yeah, I get it. Like Travis, like he's my guy when it comes to mortgage. Like if I want to buy a house, if I want to refinance, there needs to be enough there. I'm not saying you have to do business all the time because the extreme side of this is Min Win. All of you know I love Min Win. He is mortgage all the time. What's the mortgage is his tag. Like that is who he is. He lives and dies on the mortgage hill. So you truly just have to decide, hey, what is my goal? And Geoff hit this perfectly. What are you trying to accomplish with it? I tell people, if you don't want to drive business to your Instagram account, that's okay. But then stop bitching and whining. Like, why am I not getting business from Instagram? It's like, because you're not set up correctly. So this is absolutely brilliant. This is why I was so excited to have this conversation with Geoff, and why we can take it in every direction that we can is because we can. Travis News, it's time for a new coach. No. There's not time for a new coach. We're not saying that by any means, Travis Olson. Like I said, Geoff Fitzer's a good friend, does a great job. But you can see the contrast here, and that's what's really fun. And working and going back to even what you mentioned earlier, Geoff, is sometimes we get so, especially in mortgage, we get so caught up in just this little tiny bubble. We get so focused on just what's around us, we forget that there are other people or other ideas, other success tracks that you can find and get on to do really well within this business.
Yeah, that was a great engagement. I appreciate him participating on that.
I would just one thing, and then I'm gonna.
Yeah,
Fitz is awesome, and I love him, and I love the different opinions, and I certainly can understand, Geoff, where you're coming from. Josh, Sonia, I would love to see Geoff and Geoff on a call together discussing this
I'll set it up. Yeah, I'll 100% set it up.
I would love that.
Yeah, I'll get both Geoffs on a call. It'll be a good time.
Geoff with a G and Geoff with a J.
Geoff with the G, Geoff with the J.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right,
Travis, appreciate
what else
it.
we got?
I want to go to this
here.
one. Where was this? Consistency. Travis has answered converting. Ryan Morrow, we talked about the actual editing and posting. Geoff gave me a plug on this. If you need help with like video editing, check out Shred It. And actually, Momentum Builder gets an awesome discount through it. So let me know on that.
Shred app, man, it's a no-brainer. On your phone, done. I'll double tap this right now. I've done a lot of editing, Fiverr, all that kind of stuff. The advantage that Josh has that most other people don't have is you get to use the cool tech for editing, but you also get a human to oversee that and add the human element to the output, which is really the differentiator. So
thanks,
check
man.
it out.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
Okay, it's Odette here. Odette's question. So I want to hit on this one.
All right.
It's coming up with creative content, Geoff. How do you come up with I know because you're one of those people who comes up with incredibly creative content. How do you come up with, oh, did I freeze? No. Oh, there we go. How do you come up with creative, fresh content? And this almost goes hand in hand with Sonia's question, is breaking through the noise. So I want to kind of like double side this question with coming up with creative content and being able to break through the noise.
Part one of the answer to that goes back to the original answer, which is consistency, because it takes a while to find your voice and to find your rhythm and to find your style. And you're going to have to do a lot of not creative content. And by the way, also, does it have to be, what does creative mean? Like, does it have to be Picasso? You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it doesn't necessarily have to be creative. I mean, Josh, you know this very well, is what's really trending is the less produced, just talking to the camera, right? That's where the value comes in. Now, yes, if you can be entertaining, if you can use some video editing to keep it catchy on screen and some B-roll and stuff like that, that's creative too. But what I want to make sure you don't do is get yourself stuck in this place of like, I've got to come up with the next, like Mr. Beast stuff. Nobody can recreate that unless you've got millions of dollars. He has a movie studio, okay? Spends $5 million a video. That is not the example you should be looking at. You should be looking at what are the problems and challenges that you help your clients overcome, your ideal client. What are they? And then simply create content that answers those challenges and questions and put that out there consistently. And that's how you're going to start to now, you'll hook on to things and you'll start to build this momentum and go like, oh, that landed, this didn't land, that landed, this didn't land. right? That's my answer to that.
Oh, dude, you nailed it. I literally, this is so timely because on this podcast I was on yesterday, somebody asked me about, well, what about Mr. Beast? And I'm like, first and foremost, like you can't even be comparing yourself. Gary Vaynerchuk's another one. Like you said, they're in the Super Bowl of marketing.
Yeah.
They're in the zoo. Like Mr. Beast will spend millions of dollars. He spends hundreds of thousands of dollars on a thumbnail, on researching just the thumbnail, like you said. So like you can't compare yourselves to those people. The only comparison I make, and I often I reference Jimmy. Jimmy is Mr. Beast, his first name. Jimmy's first videos, when he first started out making Minecraft videos, they were terrible. They sucked. And I always reference that as like, look where he came from. He started out making crappy videos. His first 100 videos, he talks about this all the time. Like they were not good, but it was a learning process. He started with the first 100. He got better and better and better with every single one. Now to where he is today. The other problem with, again, the mistake that mortgage and real estate professionals make sometimes is you're trying to become an influencer. You're not trying to become an influencer. Like that should not be your goal. If that ends up happening way down the road after years of cranking out amazing content, sure, maybe. But plus, I'm going to be blatantly honest with all of you. Mortgage content is boring as hell. You're not going to become an influencer from just posting mortgage content. Like, period.
Well, I think that's a good distinction, Josh, because I over the last month, I've like really invested in my business and my content strategy because I've realized I need to level up. And so actually just this past weekend, I was at a 2-day 20-person small group mastermind. And that's one of the questions they asked everybody in the room first is, do you want to be an influencer, a creator, or do you want to build your business? Because there's two different approaches. And so I think that's why everybody's here. You want to build your business. And so that's why, like my answer to, earlier, you've got to have business related content, right? Help me solve problems. I would say, here's the simple answer. If all you got from today and you hung up after today was, okay, take the 5 most common questions you get from people repeatedly and answer those questions simply by recording a video and posting it and, start to get smart around hashtags and different things like that. Do some cool editing, use an app like Josh's, because there is an element of entertaining. And by the way, I don't mean to say you've got to be funny as hell. Does it help to be engaging and have a personality? Of course. But that comes over time with skill and consistency. You get a little bit more comfortable and you watch other people and, you learn from them. So start with the 5 biggest questions of problems that you help people overcome.
And dude, this is something I love that you hit it on the top 5 because you and I, this is why it's conversations with you. Geoff mentioned this. This was not scripted at all. We literally came in with a title of this episode, and I have a couple of bullet points that I wanted to hit on that we haven't even touched yet, just because this is the organic conversation. But Geoff was humble enough to say we are not masters of social media. And I agree, we're not masters, but we're learning, we're practitioners of it. We're in it every single day. So being able to share some of these things. And one of the points he just made, I tell people, keep a list by your computer or keep a list by your phone. You can keep notes on your phone. What are the top questions you're getting from your home buyers? What are the top questions you're getting from your clients? Those 5 questions, go look at my content. My team laughs because I will take my top 10 videos. I do them over and over and over. And people are like, it's so funny because some people are like, oh my gosh, I've never heard this before. And I'm like, I made a video about it 2 months ago. You probably just didn't see it, or I said it in a different way. But we literally, my top 10 performing videos, I re-record them time and time and time again. I'll have a different setting. I'll have a little different tone. I even literally, we tested this out to Geoff's point. We had the exact same script that I've tried for the last 6 months. And sometimes it does really well. And I'm like, that was the setting. Like, that's the setting. People liked it originally, but that was the setting. Don't overthink creativity in this way, to Geoff's point. Answer the questions that your community needs to hear. If you're focused on home buying, if you really want to position yourself as a home buying expert, what are the top 5 questions? You'll crush it with content time and time again.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, let's not forget ChatGPT for coming up. I'm going to, in a moment here, I'm going to share a list of prompts. I'm going to put it in the chat as an attachment. And then, Sonia, if you need me to get you the actual document or whatever afterwards to make it available in the community as a file in the Facebook group, I will do that. But these are actually originally intended for real estate agents, but you could use the exact same thing. So what I've got in here is like prompts for Instagram growth specifically, like how to use your audience demographics, help recommend content pillars, content strategy, viral hooks and captions and things like that. And just know that, you know, you're going to need to also edit the output. That's obviously one of the downsides of AI and not prompting AI effectively enough is everybody's using those same types of AI obvious words like unlock and unleash, you know, and all that stuff. And so you've got to edit it for yourself. And this is obviously is not a class on GPT or AI, but there are ways to use that tool so it does sound like you. But that could be another class we come back and do some other time.
Yeah, this is absolutely brilliant. There's another comment I want to come back to. Travis Newton, we do half mortgage and half life content. It works for us. Here's a great point that I appreciate you bringing that up, Travis. Find what works best for you. Find the cadence that works really well and go with that. Scroll social media with purpose, search and look for other mortgage professionals, see what they are doing. And your audience is 100% different than, yeah, 100% agree with that. Okay, Geoff just dropped this prompts in the chat. Guys, go make sure you download this. And what I'll have Sonia do as well, I'll have Sonia attach this and send it out to all those who registered for this session in particular. We'll make sure you get a copy of this.
Yeah, good way to start, by the way, answering some of these questions for yourself as well. So, all right, what else we got here?
Sure, there was another.
Look at that. Nice answer.
There was another question I wanted to hit on, and I'm trying to go back and find it now.
Okay, so the original question was, what's your number one social media challenge? And people, we had a variety of answers. Engaging content. Somebody else said, how do you rise above the noise? And you know, I don't want to like sound like we're hitting the easy button here, but I mean, some of it's consistency, but then some of it is strategy. So how can I answer this? Because the two things I wrote down, Josh, actually, to our title of our event today was consistency, number one, and then second is content. I mean, the content you post is relevant. Absolutely. As an answer, it's important, which goes back to, you know, my original answer to our first guest there, which is if you want more engagement, you've got to have content that's relevant and right for the audience. So the other thing we talked about in my mastermind over the last couple of days, there was a large focus on YouTube, but it is relevant for us here today. But the question to ask is, why should somebody come back? Like, what's going to get me to come back? Why should I hit that follow button? That's where myself, speaking to me, whenever I do these sessions, I'm always coaching me. That's where why am I investing myself? Why am I going to the events and buying the books and all that kind of stuff and paying for the coaching and following people like Josh and others and Travis and people? Because I need to get better at the content piece. Yes, consistency. And I think I've gotten that now down to a pattern. And then for me, I mean, look, Josh, you opened up talking about my podcast. I've been doing the podcast for 8 years. Mortgage Marketing Radio. Check it out. I'm dry. I'm in a plateau. And I need to level it up with my content and style and approach and strategy. And so that's why I've been making these investments, is because content is part two to everybody's answer.
I think you nailed it on the head there. So many people forget to think about that is, if I'm going to your page, why am I going to follow you? Why am I going to keep coming back? What is it that I saw? It has to be something intriguing. It has to have caught my attention in one way or another. And what's really cool, I always remind everybody of this, everybody's different. I may go to Geoff's page and be like super intrigued. Maybe he had an accord with me. Maybe I see something. I see, you know, a Buc-ee's little beaver in the background. I'm like, oh my gosh, I saw a Buc-ee's. Really, like, I took my kids to the Buc-ee's for the first time and experienced that. It's little things like that are like, hey, I connected with Geoff on this. And this actually goes back to what we were saying to Travis. It's great to throw those personal things into your repertoire. Absolutely. That's going to make that human connection, because we as human beings crave those similarities, those things that we have in common. But then it's, okay, now I've got their attention. Now I've got them to follow me. What's keeping them coming back and time again? Like, what value are you actually providing your community that they truly are like, oh my gosh, yes, I can't wait to go back and dive into more of Geoff's content. I can't wait to hear what Travis, you know, is saying this week on this. I think that is something, Geoff, in my opinion, and what I've seen for years and years, where people do make a mistake, or to another point, sometimes we try to replicate somebody else too much. We try to be something we're not, or something, we try to create content in a way that doesn't fit for us. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. So let's use Travis Newton, if you don't mind. I'm going to use you as an example. Travis and I know each other well. And Travis is actually in my coaching community, and he's such a great contributor and leader to our community. And so Travis and his business partner, James, have this Instagram page, james.and.travis. Okay. And these guys are ballers and crushing it in the mortgage space. Now, at first glance, I would just say, actually, for me, let me just say this. I think Travis is creating some amazing content. He's getting great engagement. He's getting deals. He's getting conversations with real estate agents from his content. He's funnier than me. He has this ability. Him and James do these awesome, skits and different. Look at this. Let me just click on this, right? Who's dumb and who's dumber? I mean, they're investing time and resources. See Travis's comment. So they're spending, they're spending time and resources on them creating their content. It's not that I can't do this. It's not a natural for me. I would have to work really, really hard. And I'm sure Travis and James have worked really, really hard at this, but they're together. They're cool. You know what I mean? They're having a good time. And clearly it's kind of like in their lane, and Travis is welcome to unmute on this. But what my point is you may look at this and go, oh gosh, these guys, look at this. They're going dumb and dumber. They actually got the damn mini bike. Like, you're like, damn, I could never do this. Well, you don't have to. The point is, find you, right? Do your style, do your thing. You don't have to be funny as hell or entertaining. Just provide value, and value is going to be different based on who you're trying to serve, and do it in your own style. Don't try to be Travis.
All right, Travis, I see you raising your hand here. You're unmuted. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I think Jeff's right. And again, James and I went all in on social media it's about 2 years now, right? And so we've seen 70% of our business come from new relationships we've built off of social media. It may be even higher than that now as we progress a little bit more. But I mean, our production has gone up dramatically, right? So it's because of all the engagement we're doing. And I can't stress this enough, is that if you want to get business from social media, you have to be outwardly engaging with the people you want to do business with. I think that's the most important thing that people don't talk about. Like, we can post all this content as much as we want, but if we're not outwardly engaging with other people's content, I mean genuinely engaging, not just throwing up a fire emoji on their post, but saying, hey, that's an awesome vacation. What was your best memory from it? Whatever, things like that. But be genuine about your comments to them. And again, you have to make this a non-negotiable. Like, folks, like Geoff and I were at the Forward event this couple months ago, and the one thing that Gary Vee said that sticks out to me more than anything else in that whole event was, if you're not 100% engaged in social media and doing video in the next 3 to 6 years, you're not going to have an opportunity, because you're going to be out of business. Oof. And he was talking to a bunch of mortgage and real estate folks. Yeah. So like, you have 3 years to get your crap together, or you're done. Thanks, guys.
Travis, you just said something that's the often untalked about secret hack. Okay, so people like secrets and hacks, right? So the secret hack he mentioned was he's engaging on other people's Instagram profiles. And I know, Travis, and it's a lot of real estate agents as well, right, Travis?
Yeah, of the 6,000 followers we have, there's probably 4,000 of them are local real estate agents.
Wow.
So you kind of have a captive audience. Yeah.
And a lot of agents are now following you because of that and because of your content, and that's how you're getting DMs, right?
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I'm telling you, we've landed 2 really big builder accounts. I'm talking massive builder accounts over the last year, frankly, because of our outward engagement on these builders' Instagram pages.
Dude, this is one of those that's absolutely brilliant, Travis, because I've mentioned this podcast a couple of times. I have what's called the show up rule. I mean, everybody knows what SHRED stands for: show up, hustle, repeat every day. But I have what's called the show up rule. And the number one thing I tell people, Geoff and I have shared some amazing things. Travis has shared some, you've all been part of this. But if there's one thing that you do, the number one mistake, I wanted to end on this. We couldn't have scripted this better, because we only have a couple minutes to end on this. But if there's nothing else that you do today The one thing you can do better on social media, the number one mistake you're making is not engaging enough with your current community. And Travis nailed it. It's doing it intentionally. Don't just hit the heart. Don't just hit the fire button. Take a second and be like, Travis, that vacation looks amazing. What was the bed like? What did you enjoy? Oh my gosh, I saw little Sally scored a soccer goal, her first soccer goal. Congratulations. What an enormous milestone. Anytime you can ask and question and get your community to engage back with you on their content. And I tell you, the show up rule, you should be spending 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes. You don't need to spend an hour, just 10 minutes. You should set it in your daily schedule, your daily routine. You should intentionally engage with 10 minutes or 10 minutes with your community every single day. If you do nothing else from what you heard Geoff and I talk about today, that one thing will truly show your community that you're engaged. Don't even get me started. I was on a call recently with some of the top people in Gary's and a few other influencers camps talking about analytics. If nothing else, this one thing will help your analytics continue to improve as well. So Travis, brilliant point, my friend. Go engage with your community. People don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. Go engage with them. Let them know that you care about them. So Travis, you're brilliant. Thanks for joining us, my friend. I gotta connect more with this. Geoff, we should have brought Travis on with us. This guy's gold. I like him. But
Travis is, he's fire, man. Yeah.
Geoff, we're coming up on our hour. We want to be respectful of your time. We want to be respectful of everybody's time here on the call today. I cannot thank you enough. You and I could literally go for hours and just have a brilliant conversation and share nugget after nugget after nugget, but I cannot thank you enough. I want to give you kind of the last word as we wrap things up here, for everybody on here, something that if you could wrap this entire conversation up, what should we be focused on? Where should we be putting our time and effort right now?
Well, quick note, I did put a link to an Instagram help page, which is create a close friends list on Instagram. I know Travis, that's one of the ways he does it, by the way, is you have your short list of agents you go follow, and you get, and that's on your short list, and it's easy to go engage with them on that. And this goes back to learning and getting educated, guys. You've got to carve out time to get educated on how to use these new modern tools. And you see Travis commenting about the Reach app. You can dig into that. To put a bow on this whole thing, I would say, first of all, I have complete empathy for anybody who is feeling like they're struggling with social media. And I think it's, you go through different peaks and valleys, right? Because there's always the next. Right? There's always the, okay, I've got this, I've done this. And I would also say, don't focus on the followers. Don't get all caught up in I only have X amount of followers, whatever. I would say just focus on doing the reps like we've talked about here today, the consistency and the content. If you're just consistent and you study, you learn, you get better and more comfortable at creating relevant content. By the way, side note, set up your bio. I showed you a couple examples here today. Set up your bio so I know who you are. Look at Travis's bio. We put the link in his Instagram. I got to know who you are, right? And have an easy way for me to connect with you. So that's just a little, more 101 Instagram thing. But just, you got to stay in the game. You got to have that long-term focus. Don't compare yourself to somebody who's in the Super Bowl if you're, coming off the bench. So, and then follow people like Josh and use his app if you want to make your life easier.
Oh man, thank you so much. You are far too kind. I appreciate the shout out, but I want to end that little part that he said. If you're just coming off the bench, don't expect to be like, you shouldn't be comparing yourself to the guys that are in the Super Bowl. You got to learn. There's a learning process. Every single one of us has gone through it. Geoff's gone through it. You've heard Travis. This has been a journey for him for the last 2 years. This isn't something that you jump into immediately and start having success. You can start learning and growing immediately, but don't expect to be on the Super Bowl team your very first year out. So Geoff, again, I cannot thank you enough. This has been absolutely brilliant. Thank you for all of you for showing up and actually being part of this conversation. That's how Geoff and I like to roll these things. So thank you again to Gino and Don and the entire Momentum Builder team for putting this on. We actually have a couple of quick housekeeping notes before we wrap things up. I'm gonna have Sonia drop these on our screen for everybody here. Be sure, there we go. We got the crowd cheering. See, the crowd is going nuts for Geoff here today, ladies and gentlemen. Hear that crowd roaring. That's a Super Bowl crowd if we've ever seen one. So, but a couple of, like I said, a couple of reminders. Make sure you go download the app. If you have not had the opportunity, go download the app over on the Google Play Store or over on Apple. Get engaged with it. There's some great opportunities for you think this is a great conversation, go download the app because we take it even deeper within the app. Some great conversations, great resources to learn and grow from there as well. And then next week, oh yeah, look at this. ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know Chelsea Pines,
Mm.
Geoff, I know you know her as well. She's a friend of both of ours. She's absolutely brilliant. She's going to be here next week sharing exactly on how you can become. I mean, guys, you need to take the time to go listen to Chelsea. She's absolutely amazing. She's one of those people that continues to inspire as well. She's a coach, best-selling author, and keynote speaker. So make sure you show up next week for her event as well. I believe that is all. And that, join our private Facebook group as well. There is a Facebook group for Momentum Builder. Check it out. There's a link or a QR code at the bottom of the right screen. Scan that code, get over to the group, and like I said, get engaged. Going back to a comment earlier that Geoff mentioned and somebody in our chat, surround yourself with the best of the best. Follow the people that are out there making it happen. Go follow Geoff's Instagram. Go follow his Facebook. Go learn from what he is doing. Go follow Travis and get engaged on these social media groups and on our Facebook group so we can continue to help you build momentum within your business. That's all we've got, ladies and gentlemen.